This is properly like one of the last videos I'll ever film here, which is weird. I look a bit crazy right now. I'm currently surrounded by suitcases. I leave for Scotland in less than 24 hours, and I figured, you know, one last hurrah. Why don't we talk about the books that I've read in the month of August? Now, August isn't over yet, technically, but there's only about 12 hours left, so I figured I'm not gonna get much done. So, let's talk about it. So I read 9 books in the month of August. Most of those being Harry Potter or Harry Potter related, and we will get to that in a second. But first, I finally got around to reading Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This book is long. It's long, it's chunky, it takes a bit to get through, and I had 2 very different opinions. In the first half, I was like, this is, you know, fairly decent, but there's some weird shit in here. For instance, there was this line, he enjoyed the immediate pleasure of smelling a secret garden in his urine that had been purified by lukewarm asparagus, which, 0 out of 10. Some very graphic body horror adjacent stuff happening that I was not a huge fan of. But in the second half and further, I feel like the writing improved drastically, so I don't know how that worked. I don't know if this is a love story. I think this is probably closer to being a tale of obsession that masquerades as love. But nonetheless, there's some very romantic lines. Wouldn't be a video if I didn't quote at you, so. He had never spoken about her to anyone because he knew he was incapable of saying her name without everyone's noticing the pallor of his lips. This line is not like about romance, but I found it very like heartwarming. She discovered with delight that one does not love one's children just because they are one's children, but because of the friendship formed while raising them. And then, tell me something, Lion Lady of my soul, he said. When are we ever going to stop this? She took off her glasses without surprise, with absolute self-control, and dazzled him with her solar laugh. It was the first time she used the familiar form of address with him. I, Florentino Aiza, she said. I've been sitting here for 10 years waiting for you to ask me that. Which gets me onto another topic about the beauty of translated fiction and also the beauty of something that I feel English is missing is the tu versus vous situation, or, well, that's French, but tu versus ustes. The personal versus formal terms of address in languages like Spanish, French, German, and how English doesn't have that. And I think that the way the layers of complexity in the story that can come behind whether you use one form of address or the other is fascinating. So I was just struck by it, you know? Next, I read Snape, A Definitive Analysis by Laurie Kim. Now, I highly recommend this to any and all Harry Potter fans. It was meticulously researched and delicately written, and it reversed 14 years of hatred for Severus Snape for me. And now I think of him as like one of my top favorite characters. So do with that what you will. Next, I read A History of Magic, The Journey Through the Hogwarts Curriculum, which is collected by the British Library. This was so cool. It collected tons of like the history of magic and folklore and how it relates to the classes at Hogwarts, as well as having a bunch of original illustrations by J.K. Rowling, stuff that she had drawn while she was plotting the books, which were much more impressive than I expected. Now, we gotta talk about the elephant in the room. J.K. Rowling is a TERF, a transphobe. She has been cited in legislation to take away trans rights. I mean, she is a menace. And for a long time, I've been trying to figure out how I want to deal with that as someone who grew up, as one of the many people who grew up with Harry Potter being such a huge part of their personality and their life. And I'm still grappling with that. The way that I'm justifying this to myself at this present moment is I did not spend any money on Harry Potter this month. I got stuff from the library. I read a lot of fan fiction. I also was reading stuff that was about Harry Potter, but not put out by J.K. Rowling. I have not financially supported J.K. Rowling. I have supported a lot of fan fiction authors this month. And I'm okay with the balance that is being struck there, you know? Because as much as J.K. Rowling is just awful, Harry Potter, I firmly believe, has grown past her control. And that's what happens when you're a writer and you put your work into the world, or you're an artist and you put that into the world. You lose control of it, and it belongs to the people who've consumed the art and not as much to the person who made it anymore. And especially the Harry Potter that I interact with and create in my head. Like, yes, it's all fundamentally bound on this world that she made, but a lot of it has, like, characters are far more diverse in my readings than she wrote them as. There's a lot more queer stuff going on in my Harry Potter than happened in her Harry Potter, rest assured. So, and for a long time I thought that that was unfair of me to do, and that I should be spending that emotional energy and time reading trans authors and doing like actually supporting authors rather than making something into something it's not. And I think I still feel that way a little bit, but I think limiting it after everything, as long as I'm not actively adding money to her pockets, I think it's fine. Fine is a strong word. I'm okay with that. This is a very complex, difficult issue, and if you have, I'm sure you have thoughts on it, so if you want to leave them down below, we could discuss in the comment section. So after I read that, I read Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban and Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Then I read Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. This was fascinating. This book discusses how Americans associate the term caste with India and feudal Europe, but really it's alive and well in our country today. The racism of America, which is so intertwined with caste, is not some unique thing. It is an old and storied hatred that has killed billions of people across human history. And I think that the way that Wilkerson created and researched this book was eye-opening. 2 quotes, gotta do it. It is a measure of how long enslavement lasted in the U.S. that the year 2022 marks the first year that the U.S. will have been an independent nation for as long as slavery lasted on its soil. And this one, which I've been thinking about for days. Hitler especially marveled at the American knack for maintaining an air of robust innocence in the wake of mass death. Next, I read Joe, an adaptation of Little Women, kind of, by Kathleen Gross. This was a heartwarming middle grade graphic novel, a modern retelling of Little Women that involves Joe coming out as gay to her family and friends, and my heart was so warmed by it. If you haven't read this yet, I highly recommend. Then I reread The Order of the Phoenix, and finally, I finally got around to reading Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. God, I'm in love with Laszlo Strange. I would marry him, no questions asked. This is in my top books ever, and the writing of it is just so decadent and enchanting and whimsical and lovely and romantic, and I want every word of it written on me. I know everyone and their mother has already read this book, but if by some chance you haven't, like I hadn't, it is so worth it. So pretty soon I'll be on a plane leaving for Scotland, and that's a lot to wrap my head around. I intend to make a bunch of videos, so I'm sure you'll be seeing those. I hope y'all are doing real well. I hope you're staying safe and healthy. Like, comment, subscribe, and the next time I see you, I'll be seeing you from a whole nother continent. Bye.